Okay. So, what are we gonna do?
So today we're going out to get baking stuff for Christmas, and also get PJs as well. So we're gonna do some baking tomorrow, which is Christmas Day.
Tomorrow or today?
We could do it in the
We're
morning.
baking today, so that we can take it tomorrow.
Either way.
Well, you've wasted so much time.
Either way.
Basically evening.
We're gonna do it either tonight or oops. So we're gonna do it tonight or tomorrow morning. So just stay tuned and we'll take you along with us.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Okay, this is not the worst thing. I'm not really liking it. Who fucking cares? I'm thinking that we want to do a naked cake.
Why?
With
new cake.
with strawberries and raspberries and Swiss buttercream frosting and maybe some red velvet shortbread because yes, I said red velvet shortbread. Okay, so see you. In the distance is a stupid bus that we were running to catch, and it was literally by the bus stop. It was literally by the fucking bus stop. Precious. And it was just there, and we were running. He looked at us, eye to eye, and drove away.
And it's white.
It's racism. Everything is racism now, and homophobia.
So you could come for this tomorrow. Huh?
Fuck both of them.
Okay, come better.
What do you want? Why are we here?
So we came to get some clothes for tea, and actually want to get some pages as well for the one that just shop breakfast. We came breakfast shopping. Someone broke his heart, so we came breakfast shopping.
It's screaming in that direction. But as you can see, the sky is a lot darker than when we left. Why is that? I've scammed these people into carrying the load. I am feeling like a mastermind right now for some reason. Why? I don't look that bad. But it's very stressful doing that. I need to get that. But anyway, we're like done with just half of the shopping, and we're going home to kind of like refresh and then go get the rest of the stuff. Incidentally, we've bought so much more. So you know what we said? Oh, we're gonna bake. There's gonna be a lot of cooking tomorrow because it's Christmas. So let's see.
So we're going to do the first.
So what were you saying about Christmas?
Alright, let's go to where we're going to.
Do you think Christmas is overrated?
I'm back another for Broji Wala. Christmas is Christmas. And it's not overrated in any way, sense or form. Don't listen to the devil. Christmas is fun.
Are you calling him the devil?
Well, so we may concern. So for me, let's go.
It's the fact that how many hours is it now? Roughly 3 hours after we set out. We're finally actually about to buy baking things, like proper baking things. Because of those two. Those two. Slow down. Slow your horses. Is how you people do not bother to get a basket for me.
Why you not pick the basket?
Because the basket is here. Yeah. Thank you. Let's try. Yes. Did you know you can put sweet potato in a cake? I will not be putting it in the cake, but did you know you could do that? What we've left to get is we need butter and we need sugar.
Butter and sugar, yeah?
Butter.
Okay.
What is butter in French?
Don't know.
So for me, what's butter in Yoruba?
Tell number 1, please.
Butter. Butter in Yoruba is butter. So the question now is, Precious, this is cheap.
Cheap.
It says it can be used for baking, but there are certain baking things that I would rather not use it for. Skip that. That's 1 kilo. Okay. That. Sorry. In the basket. In the basket. Okay. What's next?
Butter and sugar now. Let's be going.
Sugar. Sucre mama. Sucre papito. Who says that? Who's sucre papito?
Prison break.
Prison break. Sucre papito.
Yeah, there's a sucre in prison break.
Okay, it's recorded.
So David, so tell me about today. What have you done today?
First of all, they wasted time.
Who are the day?
Precious. So that's you.
Alright.
On top of me. Buying all sorts. But we finally gotten stuff for the cake. And we're going home. And we want to get... I actually wanted to get pomegranates from here. Like, see now, these are much better looking.
Let's be going there.
See,
We move. No time to check time, we don't need it.
these are much better pomegranates than what I had. What I got from the shop.
Alright. Baby, look at me. Sugar plum. Baby. So from
Put your phone down.
say something, I'm giving up on you.
And
She's giving lights. Giving what is meant to be. Yeah. I'm telling you to do something, you think I'm joking. Speak, preach.
so hopefully the pomegranates we bought are good. But if not, to be honest, there's literally no more time to waste time.
Really?
Right now, is there?
No.
Anyway,
So-
back to me. So we're going home, well, to his home, to pick up some of his stuff, so that he can spend the bank holiday with us.
You go, girl.
So, as you people can tell, there's a gay behind the camera, literally. But we're doing long walk to freedom right now because the buses are running a reduced schedule. And I do admit I did go a little crazy. A little. Because We just went to get butter and sugar, and we've got 3 bags. Give me Fanny, my brother, and say I could daddy. Be gone in the air. So, we have finally returned. After, it's been like 5 hours, right? Yep. So, everything, all the ingredients are just there. They're just there, and cooking will, well, not resume, will actually start tomorrow, very early, if I wake up early. But Christmas time, Precious, give me Pringles. So we're kind of finally ready to start the first part of the Christmas cooking thing. So what I had in my head was a naked cake with some sort of fruit filling, but I watched an America's Test Kitchen video about a cherry tart, and I'm gonna steal it. I'm going to steal some parts of it and kind of like say, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But when we went out today, I bought some strawberries and blueberries, which I've washed, and at least the strawberries have removed the leaves. So the recipe calls for a pound of cherries. I weighed these. These are not up to a kilo. But we'll work with it. So it calls for that. Some eggs, some cornstarch, some butter, some sucre pepito, sugar, and water, which I can deal with at any time. So the reason I'm making this now is because in the video, it required 4 hours to set, but that's when it was in a pie. But I'm not making it as a pie. I'm trying to prepare it as a filling. So since I know it's gonna take some time, this is a prepare ahead of schedule sort of thing. So we're just gonna do that. Ooh, that's a lot of fruit actually. I just hope it works out. So it calls for that. Then just opening where I wrote it. A cup and a quarter of sugar. Now, because I'm working with fruits that are already sweeter than the cherries, because the whole point of that much sugar in the recipe, at least from the lady on America's Test Kitchen, was to counteract the acidity of the tart, well, of the cherries. But I'm using blueberries and strawberries. But I'm still going to use a cup of sugar because I invested in, when I was like insane, I invested in this a while ago, the Flavor Thesaurus. I've never used it because I've not really done a lot of cooking. But even though it doesn't say to pair strawberries and blueberries, it says they both individually reveal the depths of flavor with sugar. With sugar. So, yes, that's what we're gonna deal with now. So, So we're gonna do a cup of sugar. I know there was a whole other, I don't know if it was America's Test Kitchen. It might actually be Barefoot Contessa, who did a video on the best way to measure things. It's always best to do things by weight, because no matter what you do, it's gonna weigh the same, as opposed to by volume. because if you did it by volume, it could be compacted, it could be too aerated, and you get either more or less depending on the situation. So let's get that off. Put that back in here. Ooh. Okay, a measuring jug, which requests for, it says a half cup of water. And then I realized that this does it doesn't have cup measurements. It's got mils, but I've got this. Ooh. I just realized half a cup of water is very little, really little. Anyway, so let's do that. Just use it to rinse this bowl a bit. Let's do that, and it's at the bottom. Okay, so I do know these fruits that I have indeed chosen do tend to have high liquid content. So I'm guessing that in the process of cooking, it will release its own juices. So let's put that to one side. And it says, start on medium to low heat, or well, not medium high heat, just until the water starts boiling. Let's get, oh no, I've got another one. Okay, while I'm trying to bring that to a boil, I'll just stir a little bit, just so all the sugar is kind of dissolved. Ooh, where did that come from? I thought you were dry, that was the whole point. Okay? So stir, and then once it comes to a boil, bring it down to a low simmer, cover it, and bring it to a low simmer for 10 minutes. I'm just gonna fan myself while I'm waiting for that to come to a boil. Once it's come to a boil, turn it down low, and then let it simmer for 10 minutes. And then we'll do all the other things. Now, I'm just realizing common sense should have told me to cut the strawberries smaller, but I wasn't really bothered since I'm still gonna blend them, so I'm gonna cover that, and we'll be back. So, we're done. I've done that. Let's put that there. The next step is to blend it. But I first of all need to mix the cornstarch and the cornstarch and the egg yolks. So the recipe called for 3 large egg yolks. Unfortunately, the eggs I've got small, so I used 4. And because of the flavor thesaurus, I just added in a splash of vanilla. And also, I put in some lemon juice into the fruit while it was boiling, and I had a taste, and if I do say so myself, I'm happy with the result. So I'm just gonna mix this, just so I get rid of any lumps and I can be sure that the cornstarch is fully integrated into the egg yolks. Now, this is not time sensitive, but I'd say it's time sensitive because the recipe says you want to ensure that this goes into the, I forgot what it's called, the fruit mixture. Why? And I believe it's simply because these are raw eggs, and you don't want raw eggs in your food. So there will be a heat transfer from the fruit, which will cook the yolks, because there is no other cooking, and then I literally mean no. Ooh, okay. No other cooking. Let's move this a bit. Cooking of the berry filling. Nothing at all. So let's get that on. Gonna dab my face a little bit. The recipe called for 2 teaspoons, so I need to ensure that all 2 teaspoons get in there. Because I believe some of the thickening action and the setting action will come from the cornstarch. So it's cornstarch and the eggs. Okay. So let's get this open. And just gonna pour that in, trying not to splash. Inevitably there is splatter from a very highly coloured liquid. So one of the things that I did notice from the 80K recipe was the colour. It was like so bright red, and it's because they said because they're not using so much thickener, the cherries were able to maintain their colour. I was a bit concerned. Oh my god, I'm sorry, that was so funny. So I was a bit concerned about the colour, because I've actually never had blueberries before, and while I was reading this flavor thesaurus, it was saying things like a lot of the flavor of the blueberries is in this skin, and I cut into a blueberry and the inside is white. Yeah, I was surprised because it's a blueberry, you'd expect it to be blue. But anyway, so I was thinking maybe it wouldn't be a nice vibrant color. As you can see, I was mistaken. Very mistaken. So this has got to blend for, just blend it, and then we'll leave it to rest. So get ready, 1, 2, 3. So we need to let it cool for 45 minutes until it gets to a temp of between 49 and 51 degrees. And I finally have, not quite instant, but I finally have a thermometer. So we'll be able to test it and see. We'll give it a shot, and then once we come back, we'll add the butter. And she said at that point, you'd pour it into a pan with your pre-cooked pie shell. But I'm not doing that because, as I said, I'm making this as a filling. For cake. So I'm gonna put it in a bowl. And thankfully this is winter. So the house is really cold. And it says chill for 4 hours at room temp, not the fridge. So I'll put it in a bowl, cover it in cling film, because it's meant to be firm, not too hard, but firm. And I'll just like whip it up again, just until I get to a piping consistency. And you'll see me fill it. Okay. So, to be honest, it's not there, but it's now been quite a while actually. Like really. Oh wait, it's okay now. Let's venture deeper. Okay, I think this is fine. I feel this is really good. So at this point, we add the 4 tablespoons of softened butter, unsalted butter. Why do you use unsalted butter in a lot of recipes? Because then you can control the salt. So what we now need to do is strain it. Turn that off. Take that out. And let's move this. Ah! It's got sticky feet to prevent it from moving. Now, in any other channel, like this would have just been put aside, but I am very starved for space where I am. So it's very, as I use it, it's got to go away. It's got to be put away. Okay? So, I can now actually return to the midpoint. Ooh. Like I'm trying to be very careful. So that it doesn't stain. Now, one thing, to be perfectly honest. It looks like a sauce. Not thin sauce, but like somewhere in the middle. And it doesn't look like something that's gonna be the thickness I would like. But if after the 4 hours, it doesn't thicken the way I want it to, there's always some more cornstarch. Just so we get it to the thickness that we'd like. Like, do you see that? Like, it's really smooth, honestly. Oh, I love that taste. I think it's really nice. Like there is this like consistency test for sauces, so yeah, keeps the line. But as a dietitian, I'm trying to think: is this a level 2 fluid? Or level 1? I think it's a level 1. Actually, no. So this has to chill for 4 hours. I'm going to cover it in cling film. Just kind of. Yep. Just so random things don't get into it. Because of what I plan to do, I don't really care if it forms a skin. But I'm really hoping that it works. We'll be back later. So what are you making?
Is this going to be part of the vlog?
What are you making?
I'm making this Jordan turkey on a Christmas morning. So there's the gizzard on the fire, there's the plantain, and that's the turkey. Bill me a minute. So this is the gizzard, cocaine to perfection. And sorry, I'm not ready. Toby just called me.
This is what they comment.
Toby just called me over, and it's not cool. And this is the plantain, and I have the turkey there. So stay tuned. Ta-da-da.
What is gizdodo?
Gizdodo?
Yes.
It's plantain and literally chicken gizzard.
Okay.
So that's just it. Fry the plantain. When we finish frying the plantain, we'll fry our gizzard as well. Then we use some tomato paste as a base, and also we had spices, no food without spice. So we add curry, thyme, a little bit of pepper. Then we add some veggies as well. Then we mix them together and voila! Kiss it up.
What is this? Are we frying the plantain? What are we doing? Speak now.
Frying the plantain.
Yeah. What's that? That's a lot of plantain, don't you? Sister, let it sit in the oil. Pipolo.
Let's not do this. No time to add this. Okay, let's do this.
That's a lot of plantain.
It's a lot of plantain actually. Came out better than I thought. It's not going to be worse. Have you? When you're laughing, say what's on your mind. Say what's on your mind. Let's get the shop a bit. Like to eat. Share it a bit. Do it well.
In addition to all the other things like that, cake, cookies, I have been asked to recreate a happy accident from a couple days ago using potatoes, onions and cabbage. I made a dish randomly, you know, it's like sometimes I can't sleep. I'm just like, oh, I've got all this stuff. Just make something. And apparently it was nice. And I've been asked to recreate it. I don't remember exactly what I did, but we're gonna try. We're gonna try. I've peeled the potatoes. Now it's literally just boiled potatoes. I use sweet potatoes, I've never tried it with any other potato. And you boil it, you boil some cabbages, some onions, and then very carefully make sure when you're boiling it, because what I've got in here is just some cold water, because I watched a cooking video that said when you're cooking potatoes, or when you're boiling potatoes, always start with cold water and not boiling water. That way everything heats up evenly and the outside doesn't get cooked before the inside. So, into that water, I've put some spices, so salt, pepper, some curry, some thyme. We've got a thing, it's called knorr. It's a bouillon cube, but the thing is I have not found, since I've been in the UK, I haven't found a UK manufactured version or alternative, so I have to go to a Nigerian shop to get it. And all I'm doing is I cut the potato into quarters lengthwise, and then I slice each quarter into, depending on the size, anywhere between 3 and 5 pieces. Once again, only use enough water, just enough water to boil the potatoes, because the happy accident was that, like, I feel everybody's made potato and eggs because it's so simple. Now the happy accident was one of those days when I was making it, I decided, you know what, why don't, since I'm already going to boil the vegetables in the same liquid I cook the potatoes in, why don't I season it? And because just the potatoes and the eggs alone felt a little boring, a little dry. So I said, let me just reduce the liquid that I cooked everything in. And I reduced it, added some cornstarch to give it some texture, make it thick. Not too thick, but sauce-like consistency. And that was the happy accident that I'm hoping I can recreate. That hopefully it makes sense again. Because that is what, to my chagrin, Precious said is literally the best thing I've ever made that he's tasted. Which I feel is an insult of some sort. Probably isn't, but I'm like, I make so many things. At least I try to. Even though he doesn't try a lot of them. He feels I'm white. And then this kind of like throwaway thing that I just made during one of my sessions, where I was just like, what's going on? Let's just make this because I couldn't sleep and I needed to make like both dinner as well as lunch to take to work. And then he goes and says that's the best thing, and I'm like, so what of everything else literally that I've ever made? But he likes it, Tofumi likes it. Now because it's Christmas and we're expecting a guest, they've made the gizdodo. And so they said I should make this. Put that on, bring that to a boil, and let it boil for, if I said I knew, I'd be lying, because I'm never sure, just until a knife can pass through the individual pieces without a lot of resistance. While that is boiling, I will slice/shred. So this is one of my new purchases. I love it, but because I was not very sure just how well I'd use it, I got a smaller one, which limits some things, which I'm not mad about, but next time I'll get the larger one, because the actual cutting surface right there is larger, so I can get thicker cuts. But anyway, you're literally just slicing the onions. Be very careful because this is very sharp. Oh well. You could do this by hand, but if you're using a mandolin, please be very, very careful. So also get some cabbage. I peeled some of these leaves before, so I'm just going to see how well that can cut. Then I'll do the rest separately. The aim is just to get like these thin, stringy, almost noodle-like strips. Just strips. And that's what I'm gonna boil in the same liquid to impart the flavor of all the spices, because who likes bland vegetables? I don't. Now I'm sure somebody will watch this and be like, oh, why don't you just eat it raw? Ugh. I have never been a fan of raw vegetables. It's one of the reasons I don't like salads. Not because it's vegetables, but because it's raw. But that's a me thing. I think that's enough. Because you don't want to overwhelm the potatoes. So it's been about 10-15 minutes. I've tested this. This is soft. Or soft enough. So I'm just gonna take it out. The boiling time will depend on the size of the cubed potatoes. So just take that out. So into that same water, just so this absorbs the flavor, you put the shredded onions and cabbage. You probably could also put carrots in this as well. Just make sure. I'd prefer if the carrots were also like lengthwise, shredded lengthwise. This probably just needs like 5 minutes, and that's simply just because of me. If you want a little more crunch, less time, but I really despise the raw flavor of vegetables like a lot. So I think this is soft enough. See, it actually, let's maintain some of that crunch. So into this bowl we go. It's like one for the plate and one for yourself. And the next thing is to let this reduce down. Just boil and boil and boil. At some point, I will add in some cornstarch, just until it's a sauce-like consistency. Then I'll fry some eggs, and everything it's literally just a mixing. So this has reduced down. It took a while. I have just finally cleared all the steam from my kitchen. Like the heat alarm was just going off like crazy. But at this point, everything comes together just like that. So I've got my cornstarch slurry, and that's literally just so that we can make that. Even though, to be honest, I feel this is very nicely velvety. Well, not velvety, it's nice. But do you see that? It's still very thin. So all I'm gonna do with this is just thicken it. And then we just toss everything in. Okay, so I'm just gonna pour this whole thing. Like, it's so interesting just how the color, it becomes a very light, and that's simply because of the amount of cornstarch. Okay? And then you just do that. Try not to get it burned. I may have used too much cornstarch, honestly. So we may not activate it completely, because the thickening effect comes from the cooking. Ooh, yep. See, and just like that. Just like that. It becomes a different beast entirely. It's a very concentrated flavor. I'd already fried the eggs off camera, but everything at this point just goes in. Welcome to the dumping game. So just stir to coat. At this point it should be on low heat, because remember, you're not trying to evaporate any of the sauce more than it already is. Yeah, that's for me. And then you just stir the mixture. Ooh. I think to me this is better than the last one, because when I did it, it's because I wanted the sauce to be just thick enough to coat everything, and I think the last time I did it, it was a bit too wet. But I think this is perfect. I genuinely think this is perfect. And that is it. It's insane. Let's see. Let me come closer. But that's it. That's it. We'll see the dish later. But now, I've got to actually start doing the cake. So let's just put this aside then. Let's just put this aside. Finally, we get to start the cake. And I'm using a recipe because, as I said, I want the cake, at least the cake itself, plain-ish. And then the filling is kind of like the star, complementing everything. So I've got, it called for equal amounts of butter, well, no, butter, flour and sugar. But I tend, because a very long time ago in my youth, I was following a recipe, and my mom always complained that the cakes I made were too sweet. And so, one day, I reduced the amount of sugar. And I've done that ever since. So even though that's 700 grams of butter, 700 grams of flour, what I intended was 600 grams of sugar, but I ended up going with 650 because I'm like, every cooking and baking is like chemistry. Everything has its place, literally. Finally, got that. It's a bit dusty. Haven't used it in a while. But anyway, what it calls for is to cream the butter and sugar. Now, what it says is stock margarine, but I got a margarine, and so I've done a mix of actual real butter and margarine just for that extra thing. So let's get that going. My fruit mixture didn't set the way I was expecting, but I planned for that. So what I'm gonna do now is just simply thicken it with some cornstarch. So let's give that a stir. And into the pan you go. And I'll just bring that, not to a boil, but just hot enough to activate the cornstarch. Depending on how it looks, I may need to add more cornstarch, but it's always best to start small and then, oh yes, okay, so the bottom, which is the part most in contact with the heat, is already thickening. As it cools, it will get more solid, so I'm not looking for, something close to pipeable, because I know that as it cools down it should become better. Well, not, it should get closer to the consistency that I'm looking for. So I've turned off the heat. Do you see that? The way it's not flowing, so it's giving me a lot of hope that once it cools down, once I pipe it, it will stay where I left it. So I'll just give that a stir, and then I'll just quickly wash that bowl, and then we'll strain it through. See, and this is just to strain it to ensure there's no lumps. So do you see that? Oh, well you don't. But the cornstarch has worked the way I expected it to. The mixture is already thick enough that you actually have to kind of like push it through the sieve. It doesn't just pour through like when we did it the last time. So I'll do this, and then I'll put this in the fridge, and we'll start making the buttercream Swiss meringue buttercream. So that's cooling, that's still baking. The cake's still baking, the filling's cooling, and now it's time for the buttercream. So I've made this recipe before, and it was a lot, and because I don't intend to do the thing I did the last time, I've cut the recipe in half. So, time to do all this. Yes. Okay, so I will turn that off, shake that off, and this goes straight into its stand. If I can find how to put it. Okay. Yep. And then we begin. Woo! That was intense. It was, right? Okay, so we've got to mix, let's say, on a medium high. So we've done that. This has cooled down enough. I can start adding the butter. Where is the knife? So just a little bit at a time. This is no longer warm to the touch. So I'm just going to bring that up to just get that a little bit. So we're at about 4, and we'll just check it in. Everyday words seem to turn. Just need $1. Once again, do not taste this thinking you will taste vanilla. You will not taste vanilla. Okay, I've got to be careful because the last time I kind of let it drift, it was so difficult to open after a while. So just clean that up. Okay, what is that? Everyday words. Yes! Success! I feel like a child. So, yeah. I'm gonna clean up a little bit and then we'll get the cakes, prep the cakes and start. So it is actually just hitting me that I did this whole thing and I did not hit record. Imagine. Just imagine. Anyway. Hey guys. I feel bad, but that's what it looks like. It's messy, but I think that's the that's so bad. That is so bad. I'm just realizing it's really bad, but who fucking cares, right? This stress. And for what? Anyway, I've got to go because we now have to transition. Yes, transition to another venue. So we're going to Precious's sister's house. Oh well, they've left me because I did say they could go, but at the same time, it feels like abandonment, but I won't call it that. I'm gonna put that in the fridge, and pictures will arise on Instagram at a later date. Because I don't know, it's weird to lose motivation right in the middle of something. Sometimes it happens. Putting some stuff away. But I just realized, because this is going to be posted after Christmas, I can't wish you Merry Christmas, but I can wish you a happy holiday season, and I hope you have the best New Year.